green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go. Let's go. Go.
And a good morning, Birds fans. Thanks for streaming in here on Birds 365 on the JAKIB YouTube channel. That's John McMullen right there. And I'm Jody McDonald. So you got your Mac guys here with you for the next 2 hours talking Philadelphia Eagle football. And John, shortly after, almost took me back to regular season days when the show would wrap up, and within the next 15, 20, 25 minutes, it'd be an Eagle announcement. They wait till right after our show wrapped up to go ahead and give you an announcement. And it wasn't an Eagle announcement. It was an announcement about a Philadelphia Eagle move, but not necessarily released by the Philadelphia Eagles. The only moves the teams can be making at this time is the signing of guys who were released before the season ended last year, and they can be inked to a reserve futures deal, which, if you check the history of not only the Philadelphia Eagles, but all NFL teams, star players very, very, very rarely come via a reserve futures deal. So it's kind of a lottery ticket situation. But they went out and signed themselves a running back, Johnny Mack. And if you're going to take one off another team, you might as well take one off a pretty good team, right?
Yeah, why not? Take a shot. As you mentioned, lottery ticket, former third-round pick in 2022, so not that far long ago. Ty Davis-Price, people might remember him from LSU, pretty high-level college player. Maybe got a little bit overdrafted, but it's one of those things. He's a big guy. He ran, I think, a 4.48, so you know how the NFL is. They get excited by that, so that pushes you up the board a little bit. But I like it. I like when the Eagles do this. I think they pay more attention to it. I talked about it before. They always like to say they try to win outside the margins. And I think this is another example of how they do it. Other teams this time of year, they're like, I'm not going to bother with that stuff. And you're right. I mean, I got a lot of people, these guys never turn into anything. Yeah, you're probably going to go 0 for 20, 0 for 21, 0 for 22, 0 for 20. And then you're going to break the slump and bang. And you got a player, and why not try? It's rarely I'm the glasses half full guy. So this is, I don't understand why people get upset and say, because I got a bunch of this on social media. Oh, these are nothing. These are, I mean, all right, you're probably right, but I don't know. I'd rather have a team that tries and says, you know what, this is, again, third-round pick. Think about 2022 draft. This kid was a third-round pick. Isaiah Pacheco was a seventh-round pick. Opportunity means so much in the NFL. I'm not saying if he was in Kansas City, I think Pacheco deserves a lot of credit and all that kind of stuff for developing, and he's a part of that. But you need an opportunity, and he was in San Francisco, and guess what? They got a pretty good back, and there's not going to be much opportunity. So why not take a flyer and say, the Eagles have an opportunity because they don't have anybody coming back other than Kenny Gainwell right now. DeAndre Swift is scheduled to be unrestricted free agent. And, so was Boston Scott. Obviously, so was Rashad Penny. They don't have anything coming back. So they need to rebuild this backfield. Maybe he gets an opportunity, maybe shows something. More likely he doesn't if you're playing the odds. I'm not going to pretend that. But why not? And they did it twice, and they signed an offensive lineman yesterday as well, Darian Kennard, who was a fifth-round pick in that same draft, 2022. And, and by the way, Ty Davis-Price got the highest futures contract this year, money-wise, which tells you the Eagles are going to give him a look. Same thing with Julian. By the way, he passed Julian Okwara, who the Eagles signed last week, to a pretty high-level futures deal that you rarely see. I like it, Jody. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's better to do this than to be other teams sitting on their hands right now. That's how I see it.
Here's my take on it. And you're right. You're usually more a half empty guy than a half full guy. So it's good to see you be half full, Johnny Mac. Good on you. Here's the reason why I'm pretty much half full too. What's the downside?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're just going to sit there, oh, these guys never make it. Oh, McMullen said, oh, for 22, you got to wait 23 times before you get one. Yeah, those are probably the numbers. You're probably, what do you lose? You don't lose anything.
Wow.
The only one who takes a loss, and he seems perfectly okay with taking a loss, is going to be Jeff Lurie, because they're going to have to give this guy, if you've got the highest futures contract signed this offseason, there's some guaranteed money, there's some signing bonus money in there, and if he doesn't end up making the team, it's just a flush cost. Jeff Lurie can handle it. He can write that check. It's like, oh my God, we're going to have to start a GoFundMe page for Jeff because they made a couple of bad football decisions there. And we're going to talk today. We've got a couple of good guests coming up, Gil and BLG. We're going to talk about the cap when we get Brandon Lee up here, free agency and like. We've gone over this umpteen times, and we'll go over umpteen more for the next year, 2 years, however long we're doing this, about how the cap works and top 51, and you have to have so many players, so many positions and fit it under the cap, which is probably going to go up. I'll give you that figure in just a bit. None of these guys are ever going to get into the top 51.
Well, that's scary because I think, and I'll double check this when we hit the break. But their top 51 cutoff is going to be much lower than Okwara, and it's going to be by extension much lower than Davis Price. So I think when they hit March 13th, yeah, those two guys are going to count. They're going to be in the 51.
Yeah,
that's the kind of deal they got.
Okay, and March 13th is a bit of a key deal because you got to be underneath at the time. But the most important date is September when the season starts.
Yeah. Well, then you got to be under at 50, with your 53-man roster. But the off season, it's called the top 51 rule. Only the top 51 contracts you have to be under. You can have up to 90 people on the offseason roster. So you don't have to be under with all 90 people. You only have to be under with that top 51. And those guys are going to count. Which tells you that they think these guys are worth a real look. And because everybody's got future signings, people. Everybody, and most just re-sign their guys they had on the practice squad, and they're young guys, and they might pick up a guy and this and that, but they're really training camp fodder. And as I said, most likely that's what happens here. But what always, because Adam Thielen's a guy, Nick Sirianni brought him up. I got to cover him very early in his career. I mean, that guy came from Minnesota State. He didn't get invited to the combine. He had to go to a regional combine. He had to go to a rookie tryout camp. He made a rookie tryout camp. Then he had to go to training camp. He started on the practice squad. Then he slowly got better. Then he got on special teams and everybody, what is this guy? Then he runs better routes than anybody in football. And all of a sudden he's a Pro Bowler. And Nick Sirianni brought it up. I asked him, rookie tryouts have you don't have as much time. And I said, how do you evaluate these people? And he went on this convoluted answer, but that's the answer. At the end, he said, don't miss Adam Thielen. Don't miss Adam Thielen. I didn't bring up Adam Thielen. He did. He's like, just don't miss Adam Thielen. Adam Thielens are out there. They are out there. The NFL misses. It's rare, but they miss.
Right.
And it's worth a shot.
So you might as well take your swings. If this was something you could get odds on or bet on, I'd probably bet against. But so what? It's like you get a free bet. It's not going to cost you anything. If they're going to give you 1,000-to-1 odds, so you throw a couple bucks now. If you lose, it's a couple bucks. Doesn't really matter. If you hit, damn, you're going on vacation. That's the way the Eagles look at this. And yes, outside the margins is where they like to take their shots. And I think this is a worthwhile shot. The only thing that hit me when I realized who the player was, and I'm sitting around watching TV, I forget what I'm doing, and John texts me the tweet from his agency that says he signed the largest futures contract so far this offseason, which also doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. The first thing came to mind was, ex-San Francisco back. Didn't they just go down this road with Trey Sermon, who also was a high draft pick, relatively high.
Third-round pick, same thing.
Day 2 pick. And you say, what happened with Trey Sermon? Well, the Eagles. And the thing I will forever remember about Trey Sermon is the fact that Nick Sirianni would just bring him up out of nowhere and say, but Trey Sermon, man, is he showing us something in practice? Man, is he running hard in practice? But it never quite actually showed.
And by the way, Trey Sermon is still in the NFL, still with Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. So it's not like he hasn't been an NFL player. But yeah, I get why people don't care, don't think about it, just a guy. But I just look at it from the standpoint of the 31 other teams. And most of them, and I'm not going to say all, but again, the top 2 futures deals in the NFL are in Philadelphia. I like that. If I'm a fan, I want my team to uncover every rock. And you do, and you get nothing. I grant you the odds. If you're betting, bet the other way. But what does it hurt? As you point out, Jody, what does it hurt? I like trying.
It's money's in the couch cushion of Jeffrey Lurie. So, I'm not going to get crazed about it. Here's where you can actually, if you want me to go devil's advocate and play the half-empty card here, here's where it could actually have an effect on the Eagles in a negative form. Come April, the Eagles are going to participate in the draft. I did see one spot yesterday. Do you ever use tankathon.com?
Yeah, usually during the season to see where the draft standings are.
Right.
In season.
As do I, but I punched up yesterday. I don't even remember what reason for. And they give you the Eagles draft picks, and they're actually projecting, because it's still just a projection as to where the Eagles' compensatory draft picks are going to be. It has not officially been announced yet. There's a very elongated, at least for me, I'm not that bright, confusing mathematical theorem that they use to come up with exactly how the picks are given out and the like. And 5, 6, 7 different outlets I've seen have projected the Eagles to get a third and 3/5 round draft picks, 6 compensatory picks in the draft this year. They went so far as to even slot them in to their specific rounds, and where their other teams are going to be getting compensatory picks as well. And then there's more to the theorem that tells you where they're going to put in. So they actually came out with where the picks were. I'll give them to you in a second here. But if we're on draft day, it's day 3, not day 1 or day 2. The Eagles have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. I don't think they're going to be using a pick in either of those 2 days or any of those 4 picks on a running back. But if you're sitting there in day 3 and there's a running back on the board and you go, do we really want to take a running back when we've already got Ty Davis? Yeah, maybe we'll take a pass, and they pass on running back and they get another backup offensive lineman, bring him along offensive lineman prospect, and they pass on running back, and that guy turns out to be Adam Thielen, and he's an eventual Pro Bowl. And like, when that happens, you can actually go, yeah, that's on Howie. They decided that they didn't need to draft a running back because they signed this guy to a future deal. Now, this is like 9 steps have to happen for this to come back and bite the Eagles in the butt. It could happen. That's about it. I'd say the odds are as good as that as there are that Davis becomes a player just on his own merits. You do have to play that what-if card. I think that's fair from an Eagle fan perspective, is it not?
Yes and no. I mean, there's the evaluation aspect. These two guys are very young, 2022 draft picks that they signed yesterday. So I think Davis Price is 23. I think Kennard is 24. So they're very young. Kennard specifically, I remember, and I just texted somebody I talked to at the Eagles, and I remember his name coming up in the 2022 draft about he had told me Stoutland liked him. You wouldn't mind working with him. Now we're talking day 3 pick, not, he's ended up being, I think, a 5th round pick is what so the Eagles were probably looking at him as 6th, 7th round as a developmental type. And then, something happens and you got an opportunity to bring him in. Stoutland remembers and they bring him in. I don't think that's a bad thing. When it comes to that stuff comes to evaluation. If they think Davis Price, who's 23, who's 219, who runs a 4.48, is more gifted than a 6th, 7th round potential pick, yeah, it might affect their thinking, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that's where I say opportunity matters because, and I use Pacheco as the best recent example of this. If he gets drafted by San Francisco in the 3rd round, he's not Isaiah Pacheco. He's not, because he's not getting an opportunity. Might be the same player behind the scenes. We'd never know about it. So, so much of it is opportunity. Now, because of the way the Eagles build their roster, they're not going to pay somebody like Christian McCaffrey, although they would have drafted him back in the day. But in general, they're not, no matter what fans talk about, and they're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it, and everybody's going, go get Derrick Henry, go get Saquon Barkley, go get Josh Jacobs. I just got odds for Josh Jacobs yesterday in my email box. Guess who's number 2, Jody? The Philadelphia Eagles. Well, I'm telling you, they're not getting Josh Jacobs. So they're not wavered about how they build their roster, and they're going to build their roster the way they build their roster. If you ask me who's going to be the Eagles' lead back next year, I still say TBD, to be determined. It's probably going to be a draft pick. It might be a veteran guy. I brought up A.J. Dillon a while back. It may be, they may sign somebody lower rung who's going to get a more serviceable deal, shall we say. That's not out of the equation, and that's why I put TBD. Could be a free agent, but he's probably not here yet. I don't think this changes. I don't think this changes that.
Let me hold your feet to the fire. If the Eagles' number 1 back, who's ever going to get the most carries, and yeah, they even have a way of doing that. And if you think they're going to stick to it with Gainwell with sharing carries and not just having a lead back who gets 65% of the carries over the course of a year, and he's yet to arrive here, and you said most likely, I don't want to misquote you here, most likely a draft pick?
Most likely.
Okay. Here are the draft picks. Now, this again is a projection on the compensatory picks they're going to get. These are not locked in. It hasn't been officially announced by the league, but this is just someone doing the math for the term that they use to give out these compensatory picks. Eagles have the 22nd pick first. That's first round. 2 in the 2nd round, 50th and 53. A compensatory pick for Javon Hargrave going to San Francisco at 97. So the compensatory picks are always at the end of the round. So that'd be the 97th pick overall. Then don't have a pick until the 5th round. So they got after the 3rd compensatory, then not another one until the 5th round. It's a pick that they got in a deal with Tampa Bay. Then they've got 2 more compensatory picks or 3 more compensatory picks in the 5th round, 170, 171, 178. The Tampa Bay pick is 160. So 22, 50, 53, 97, 160, 170, 171. We will put the other 2 later than that even aside, or if maybe I shouldn't, 178 and 189. I know this is completely unfair, but come on, Johnny Mac, you're a football genius. Where is that running back going to be grabbed? Which of those 8 picks is going to be used on a running back?
It starts with the Eagles. It starts in the 2nd round. If they'll take a running back in the 2nd round. They already have. I mean, Miles Sanders, and it was successful, even though people can say what they want. So they're not going to take a running back in the 1st round. But from that point forward, if they think, if the valuation meets the spot, they'll take a running back, and they'll take a running back with that 3rd round pick. And they got plenty of opportunity to move around. You can now trade compensatory picks. Back in the day, you couldn't trade him. Howie can go up the board. He'll give up a 2026, pick. And some people, but that's how we got DeAndre Swift. He might trade for a back. I should have mentioned the trade market as well. A younger back. He's got plenty of ammunition this year to even if he wants to just go in the draft. And again, unlikely. But what you have in Philadelphia is what you had in Kansas City with Pacheco. Opportunity. There's going to be an opportunity here. So it might be a 5th round pick. And you could say, well, that's unlikely. Yeah, it is unlikely. But Pacheco was a 7th round pick. And how many Super Bowl rings does he have? And he was a contributor. It's not like he's on the back and just skating through, and he's got a couple rings because he's not meaningful. He was pretty meaning. Eagles fans remember him. He was pretty meaningful then. Yeah, I don't even worry about it. They got plenty of ammunition in the draft this year. If now the problem is the draft is not loaded with what we think of as top tier. Last year it was Bijan. There's no Bijan Robinson in this draft, which doesn't matter anyway because the Eagles aren't taking a running back in the 1st round. So you have to evaluate correctly, and whether it's I don't know, the kid from Michigan, Blake Corum, Trey Benson's a pretty good prospect. There's Bucky Irving, the big kid from Notre Dame. I forget his name. There's a bunch of sort of mid 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks that you'll be able. And because of the position too, a talented kid will get pushed down the board versus, certain positions get pushed up the board. And running back's not one of them.
I think you need to be careful how often you drop the Pacheco name because Howie may be listening. And I think that would motivate him to wait till the 7th round to make a pick. Well, I can get Isaiah. If they get Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round, I can get Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. So be careful.
No, it won't, because the Chiefs didn't take Isaiah Pacheco to be the starting running back. He just got an opportunity because of injury, and he got an opportunity, and he got a chance to play, and he played well, and they couldn't take him off the field.
That's what the Eagles going to say. We're going to take a guy in the 7th round, and all we got is Ty Davis and Kenny Gainwell, so we're going to give that 7th round an opportunity. So we won't take a running back in rounds 1 through 6. We'll wait to the 7th because all you need is an opportunity.
If that's what you took out of that, I apologize, because I said it starts in the 2nd round. I just brought up Pacheco as an example of a talented kid who got an opportunity. That's it. Kansas City didn't plan on him being the starting running back. Nobody's going to take his kid in the 7th round. Howie Roseman isn't going to go, I'm going to wait till the 7th round to take my starting running back for 2024. If that's what you got out of what I was saying, I apologize, because that's not what I was saying.
That's just my take. But what I will go on the record is if the Eagles don't move, because you're right, there's always the possibility of trades, and Howie loves to wheel and deal and play money all on draft day. So if you're going by track record, Howie is an aggressive trader on draft day. The Eagles, as of right now, and this again, just projection, are projected to pick 22, 50, 53, and 97, and then not again until 160. They will not be taking a running back with those 3 draft picks. They will not take a running back in the first 100 picks in the draft. They are at 97 as their 4th pick as of right now. I do not believe the Philadelphia Eagles will take a running back in the first 50. I'd be
Miles Sanders
at wager
53.
Yeah, I understand that. This year, this team, this group, I don't think that with this quarterback who doesn't seem to like to throw the football to running backs out of the field. Now, I know we got a brand new offensive coordinator and a lot of things may change, but if you're looking at track records say Jalen doesn't use the running back out of the backfield very much, which kind of cuts into the value of the running back overall. I'll carry whatever action you want that the Eagles don't take a running back in the first 100 picks in the draft. How he can move up, he can move down, he can do whatever he wants. The Eagles won't take a running back in the first 100 picks. I feel pretty damn confident about that. We're going to have to wait till April to find out, but that's my take on the running backs for the Eagles this offseason. All right, we get the take of our buddy from down the shore. We're headed down to 97.3 ESPN, The Bash. It is Mike Gill. He's up next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got Maga Mac here with you on Birds 365. Appreciate you streaming in. Hit the like button. It's not going to kill you to hit the like button as long as you're tuned in. And you got the Providence kid, Mike Gill, on your streaming screen. Now, of course, you have to hit the like button. When was the last time you were in Providence, Mike Gill?
Probably 2 summers ago, 2021. I was in Boston, Providence, Boston, Newport. I did the whole little New England waltz down there. I like Providence. Nice town. Very underrated.
And did they? When I was watching a college basketball the other day, they got a new sponsor for the Providence Arena.
Oh yeah,
because forever wasn't it the Dunk?
Dunkin', it was Dunkin' Donuts was
right.
the sponsor.
It was a sponsor, and I introduced the game from the whatever arena, and well, it's not Providence.
Well, for years it was the Providence Civic Center before they had the name and everything, and then it was the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
That's the dark ages, John.
Yeah,
now it's have a corporate sponsor.
Well, sadly, because I'm a wrestling fan, I used to know every arena in the country. But then they started changing all the names, and I couldn't keep up. I just now it's like the some kind of insurance company. Mutual, I think.
I was thinking about this the other day, actually, because my girlfriend is like from up by Syracuse, and it's not called the Carrier Dome. It's not called the Carrier Dome anymore. They changed the name of that. It's some other sponsor. Heinz Field is whatever that is.
Oh, yeah, that's another.
If you're the sponsor after the longtime sponsor, are you really getting your bang for the buck?
No, you're not. That's a good point, Mike, because everybody calls Heinz Field Heinz Field.
Yeah, Carrier Dome is always I don't think people even understand that Carrier is an air conditioning company. Yeah. It's just the name of the dome in Syracuse. No longer.
Now, here's how sick I am. I could tell you, and again, not the new name, the old name of the indoor arena in Syracuse used to be the Onondaga War Memorial. There you go. There you go. That's some.
I called a game from there, John McMullen. I've called a game from there before, back in my college days when I was doing play-by-play. I called a game there. You talk about these names of stadiums like the Omni in Atlanta, and
the Omni.
You got to go back to getting the corporate sponsors out and just naming them.
Yeah, it was. And the one that will never change. I think you should never say never, but the one that will never change is Madison Square Garden. I don't think they'll ever.
Yeah, they've never sold it, and they've had the chance to sell the naming rights, and they never did. So I think you're right about that, John. And I'm sorry, the greatest of all time was right here in Philadelphia when the title sponsor for the basketball/hockey arena was the First Union Center, aka the FU Center. Doesn't get any better than that. I'm sorry. That's the best of all time, just because I'm a jerk. All right, Mike, glad you're a Providence guy with us today. There any draftable players coming out of Providence this year we can talk about with you?
Yeah, I'm not even sure Providence has a football team.
I don't think they have a football. That's why, the joke, the attempt to humor I was trying.
A hockey guy. I got a hockey guy on my shirt here. See that?
There we go. Yeah, New England. That's hockey central, man. Providence is a cool town, though. I agree with Mike. It's if you're going to Boston, stay in Providence. It's better.
And hopefully you go into a Patriot game because it's a quicker commute from Providence. Than
that's what I meant. If you're going to a Patriots game,
which Eagle fans don't have to worry about. They're not playing in New England this year. They played in New England last year.
No,
so that's a couple years. You got to wait to take your Providence trip. All right. Have you ever had Craig Carton on your show as a guest?
Oh boy.
It's funny you say I have not, but I interned at WIP. I was your intern, Jody.
Your time,
and Craig was on at that time during the night, and when the whole Lindros thing, I never met the guy. I don't know him, but he did work in my company for a while. When we were owned by a different company, he was at New Jersey 1015, which is owned the parent company of where I work. I don't know him, but it's funny because this morning was watching a YouTube video in preparation for coming on this YouTube show. And they were talking about this Craig Carton comment here. So I am up to date and versed on it because I don't think it got a lot of attention.
You kid because you care. Thank you very much. I do know Craig. You're right. You were there as an intern. I was hosting during the midday, and Craig was on at night. And I will say this, and a lot of people probably don't know this. Craig was a really good, I'm not just talking about got the job done, a really good, hardworking Eagle beat guy.
Really?
way back when he was the Elliott Shore Parks of WIP. It was his job. He went on the road with the Eagles and had a good relationship with some Eagle people and would break Eagle stories. Yeah, way back when, Craig Carton was a pretty damn good Eagle beat reporter when he was at WIP.
I did not know that. That's knowledge to me.
Many years.
What outlet?
Well,
was he for the radio station?
Oh, WIP. He was the Eagles WIP report, like Elliott Shore Parks is now.
Okay.
He was Elliott Shore Parks before there was an Elliott Shore Parks. And just my personal opinion, he's pretty damn good at it. He got good information and had good sources, and every once in a while broke a story while doing so. And then he became a throw the stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Highly paid.
Funny. Well, we were talking about that yesterday with certain guys. Skip Bayless, it's hard for people to believe, was a well-respected reporter for many, many years before he changed industries. Yeah, and there's a lot of guys. There's a local guy that I shall not name, but he's not a well-respected reporter now. That was some nonsense yesterday. I'll say it out loud. Mike, when you hear stuff like that, it's like, crap or get off the pot. If you got something, say it. But then everybody would, dismiss it. And I saw Adam Schefter was already on. Nothing to it. That's what I was told. Nothing to it. They don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know. Why do people do this?
Well, isn't this the time of the year, especially when something goes as bad as the Eagles did, where nobody can identify a primary reason for such a epic collapse that everyone's like, something will come out. Something will come out. Well, there is either what Jody's saying, the attempt to throw something at the wall and say, this is what's coming out, or as the other side is now saying, nothing to it. Is there something in the middle, or is it just a case of?
I'll give him that. I'm sure he heard some gossip somewhere from somebody who's just making crap up or whatever.
Right. Well, that's the thing is this time of the year. Oh, something will come out. Something will come out. Well, are we discounting this coming out as this is just an attempt at trying to throw something at the wall, or do we take it with a grain of salt, or do we say, you know what, that makes more sense than anything else I've heard?
Well, I would recommend taking it with a grain of salt. I can't force people to take things, but again, the way he did it was like, and I don't know. I only watched it once because I rolled my eyes. Jody, you probably have a better take. You can explain it better than me. Is the actual wording? He knows something, but he's not going to say it. Well, why the hell aren't you saying it?
That's just flat out ridiculous. Here's for me, because he said it was a problem that would splinter men. Well, we didn't think the Eagles had any women in the locker room, so that was pretty redundant that it would splinter men. And it's a problem that cannot be fixed. So now he's interjecting himself into how big a problem it is. And that's you got to have serious details to be able to say it's a problem that can't be fixed, which is, I think, Craig taking liberties. And he said it was a high profile Philadelphia Eagle who may not be here going into the season. So he gave you a lot of details, but he left out the all-important detail. That's a puzzle with the biggest piece in the middle not being there. And, oh, by the way, I'm not going to give you that piece to the puzzle. Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, it's probably just throwing stuff at the wall.
Well, the people that I saw, the aggregators who wrote about this after the fact, they all used the same picture. Not the same picture, literally, but the same picture of two people. And I think that was the hope of Craig Carton. I can't prove it. I don't know the guy. And the two people were Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown.
That's as high profile as it gets.
I think it was done with purpose. I think it landed. I think everybody who did write about it in an aggregate type of way, again, used the same picture and went the same direction. So he accomplished his goal of getting noticed. Very similar to Chris Sims, much lesser. He's Jalen Hurts' most overrated player in football. I think these guys do this purposefully, and it works. So,
well, if you're talking about high-profile players, you don't really have any on the Eagles other than those two. I mean, Jason Kelce, I guess, would be somewhat high-profile, but other than that, who else on this roster is a high-profile player other than A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts?
I'll give you one, and it would, again, be a stretch, just as all of this seems to be a stretch. Maybe his source said, yeah, the Eagles are going to trade Hassan Reddick. Just his outrageous salary demands. There's no way they're being met. They've put it out there and spun it for a specific way that made it sound like Hassan wanted to be traded, that they're moving on from Hassan Reddick. I would call him a high enough profile guy. Now, again, that's just making stuff up. I'm readily admitting I'm making stuff up here, folks, Eagle fans. I'm not stating this. I'm not saying this. I'm just coming up with a theory. I'd call Hassan Reddick a high enough profile player that if he needed to be elsewhere for whatever reasons, then that could fill the void that Craig was just, I think, making stuff up and pointing at.
Yeah, and he plays on the defensive side of the ball, and I guess you could say, yeah, the defense did fall apart, but I mean, it felt like he was insinuating why the offense was a mess, is these two guys couldn't.
Well, I think that's the beauty of it. You can go in any direction.
Right.
I mean, Howie's.
Oh, yeah. But like Hassan Reddick, okay, let's hypothetically say it was Reddick beefing with somebody. Okay, a high-profile player on defense. Who else would he? I mean, okay, Fletcher Cox. He might not even be here anyway. But Brandon Graham, is he a high-profile player? Maybe here. Probably not league-wide anymore, if he ever was. I mean, really, on the defense, it would be tough to say two guys had some sort of internal rift that caused the defense to completely fall apart. Offensively, you would say, all right, what happened to this team late in the season? You had a receiver who had a streak of games of 125 yards, 7 straight games. Not that he fell off the map, but he wasn't getting 125 yards anywhere near that for a stretch there. So I would imagine, again, that he was going for it's Brown and Hurts, who had this pre-relationship, which I still find to be very odd. Like, who knew that these two guys even knew each other? And then they were best friends. I guess they went on a recruiting trip one time, but I was in college and I went on a recruiting trip. And I don't remember the guy's name who walked me around the campus, and yet somehow A.J. Brown.
Yeah, but we're a couple more years removed from that, Mike.
We're a couple. And
they were just a couple of years ago for A.J. and
they were
Jalen.
high-profile college players.
That would be decades with an S, plural, Mike.
Well, I mean,
gotta be honest about it here, big guy.
When I went to a visit, I didn't remember that guy's name probably the next week. I was like, all right, whatever.
I don't remember anybody's name.
Right.
So,
I always felt that this relationship was like, how did these guys become best friends all of a sudden? Like, they trade for A.J. Brown. Oh, he's got his best friend on the team. It's like, how did they even know each other?
Well, I think the best friends part was overblown. I think, they were close, but whatever. I got somebody, a journalist friend of mine who's got like 353 best friends. I always laugh at him. I go, how could you have so many best friends? Best means best.
But I guess I definitely think that Craig is going for that. It's that these two guys had an issue, and it will come out. I don't want to be the guy that tells you what happened, but I'm just telling you before it comes out.
I think there's 2 layers to this. I think there's 2 layers to this. He accomplished the first layer to get everybody pointing at Jalen and AJ. He accomplished that. And then the second layer where he can point to, see, I told you so. If Howie Roseman trades AJ Brown or Hassan Reddick, as Jody brought up, see, and he'll do more intimation, won't say what happened. He will do more intimation when he's trading for football reasons. If he trades either of those guys, it'll be for contract reasons. In AJ's case, because they have to pay Devontae. In Hassan's case, because he wants Myles Garrett-like money, or that's the perception. And then you could do the layer thing and say, oh, I can toggle both directions. It's kind of brilliant. It's still bullshit.
You're saying couple of years ago, they tried to trade for Calvin Ridley. So you're saying if they sign Calvin Ridley in free agency before the draft, that should be a sign of you're not getting this third wide receiver who's going to be a great player. This is the precursor to them trying to trade A.J. Brown.
Well, I think, and I'm going to create issues. I don't think they're going
I'm just
to
saying,
trade.
that's the interesting part about football, where free agency comes before the draft.
Yeah,
and you have to kind of make those moves before you get into the time where you can.
Yeah, I've always advocated the draft should be before free agency because you should be able to draft players, and then when you can look at and say, oh, we didn't get this, we didn't get that, then you can go get it in free agency. They do kind of do it backwards, but they just make a lot of money. So it's always, that's the whole trick of football, all right, we got to move this. We got to move this to pay Devontae. We got to do this. We can't afford to pay Hassan this, but we can pay him this. And then if you do make a move, a high profile move, people don't think about that. They say, oh, what's the reason other than strictly salary cap, financial things like that? That's the only reason I was bringing up a potential trade of AJ Brown. And then the part there are some, with AJ personally, again, there's some social media stuff and he takes that too intently, and he's had some, which he's honest about. He's had some issues and should probably stay away from it, but he seems to not. He seems to always come back. And so he's got some mental health things that similar to Lane Johnson that he's been dealing with over the years. So, that factors into it as well. All these things are the real things. And then you could say, oh, the relationship blew up, which I don't think is the case.
Let me play a Craig Carton-like role here. And again, this is me just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks by asking you two guys a question. Let's say there's something to this, and we're talking about, we're not giving any specifics, and we don't know there are specifics to be given, that there might be a division between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. If that's the case, and Howie Roseman at least believes there's enough smoke there that there could be fire, so he looks at it, he asks around, calls around, finds league, seems, wow, yeah, the trade market for A.J. Brown, actually, I could justify in my own mind trading our best overall football player because the offer is that good. And he calls Jalen Hurts into his office and says, listen, I got a chance to make you got to take my word for it here. This is what I do. I'm Howie Roseman, executive of the year, blah, blah, blah. Believe me when I tell you that this is a potential deal that will, this is not a fire sale thing or anything else. Eagles can very much get better for it. But you tell me, do you want A.J. Brown on the team, or would you rather see A.J. Brown elsewhere? What do you think Jalen would say?
Well, if any of this is true, he might say, I think it's time to move on. And if it's not true, he would say, that's a crazy question.
Succinct.
Right? I mean,
and I like it. Yes.
If you asked him, and if this was all nonsense, he would say, that's preposterous. But if there's any truth to it, he might say, you know what? I think we might be better off without him. Let's spend money in another area. He's making so much money. We can spread that out, and I think Devonta Smith is ready to be the number one wide receiver, if any credence to these comments.
But here's where you have to factor in Jalen, as we all acknowledge it's an unknowing situation right now. Would Jalen even go there? Jalen doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's as opinionated and wants to be involved in these things. I think Jalen wants to be Mr. Narrow Focus, sitting on the bench, staring directly ahead rather than talking to his teammates. Do you think he'd even want to say if Howie called him into the office? Do you think his response would be, Mr. Roseman, that's not my gig. That's your gig. I'm not going to.
John, do you think that behind closed doors that Jalen is more vocal? I mean, for years, Andy Reid was this stoic guy, and we thought he had zero personality. Now he's flipping burgers in commercials. I mean, he's obviously got some personality behind closed doors, but does Jalen have more of a voice behind closed
I think
doors
he's.
than we're
I think he's
led to
got more
believe?
of a voice with the players, and with his teammates. He's got more of a voice. I don't think he's got more of a voice with. Yeah, like to Jody's point, I don't think he's going into Howie's office and saying, "Oh, you got to get AJ Brown out of here." I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's this is the best football player on the Eagles, AJ Brown, number one, just pure football players. I think Jalen Hurts is smart enough. Even if they had a schism in their relationship, barring some of the nonsense, I hate to even bring this up, but even if they had a typical fight between friends, nothing earth shattering. That what was the description, Jody? That would shatter men. Nothing like
Splinter
that.
men. Splinter men. That's how bad it was.
Just natural. All right, I think this guy's an a-hole now. I don't want to deal with him. Blah blah blah. On a personal level, I think he'd still be smart enough to know. Guess what? I'm coming off a down season. If I don't have AJ Brown, I'm probably going to have another down season, and all of a sudden his career is spiraling. I think he's smart enough to understand that. You don't got to be friends with everybody in the line. I think that's a misconception. There's, when you boil it down, everybody says 53. It's not even 53. You got 16 man practice squad. You got injured reserve. Not everybody
I agree
gets
with
along.
you on the surface of, not everybody likes everybody. Not everybody gets along. Totally understand that aspect of it. But I do think it's odd if you have this relationship that was viewed as like up here, like the reason why this team was so good. And then 2 years down the road, the one guy kind of went off on his own way and you went over here. You would think that would have some fracturing of the synergy of why that team is what it is. Like if these two guys every day came in the locker room, yo, AJ, great practice today, blah, blah. I'm not saying they were that demonstrative about it, but had that and then all of a sudden it was like, yep. You would think that there is something where the guys would have been like, man, what is up with these two?
I could, and I rarely, somebody commented, Kevin Savard, good comment. He said, John and Jody, you two fight at least once a day.
But you started the show fighting.
Yeah, which we do. And I don't know, Jody might think I'm an asshole, but the minute I like Jody, the minute I leave the airwaves here, I have no ill will to Jody.
Right. Well, like in our business, John and I used to do a show one day a week together for 4 hours. And man, when the Sixers process was going on, he probably said that Mike Gill was an asshole and an idiot.
No,
and I
didn't know.
Right, exactly. But if people were listening, they might think that we just totally didn't respect each other's opinions at all. But the show started at that level.
Yeah.
It didn't build to that level. We went in with the understanding that we just don't agree,
Yeah.
but I respect your thoughts.
Yeah.
That's
I think live at Harris, I thought people thought we were going to fight the one time. And I'm like, no, we're not going to fight. We just disagree on a sports topic.
But the difference is Brown and Hurts' relationship didn't start with disagreements. It's gotten to disagreements. In the beginning, it started with, I respect your opinion. You respect my opinion. And now it's built up to this potentially all hearsay. But
right. Yeah, and I don't even believe I think it's exactly what the commenter said.
Did you say, John, earlier that Adam
as well?
Did you say that Adam Schefter commented on this?
Yeah, Adam was on John Kincaid's show.
Okay, I did not hear that. I guess they asked him and he had a comment on it.
Yeah, and he said
reach that level of conversation, which I'm sure the Eagles are not thrilled with.
Right, but good on Craig Carton, because if he's got Adam Schefter commenting on his comments on a show,
I will say yes. I will say
what he
this,
wanted
though.
to achieve.
I have seen the Craig Carton video, but it's only this canned off the television from Kevin Kincaid. Is there any better audio quality of the actual audio, or did nobody else watch this show?
I don't know.
I don't even know what he's on. I don't even know what the show is.
He's on Fox every single morning.
He's on Fox FS1. He's on FS1. It's early. I've never actually seen the show. I have seen social media clips. But the video that I think Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad, somebody sent it to him and they like recorded it off their television. So it's like this very distant sounding. Now you can make the audio out if you're like intently listening, but like if you were using it for radio to say, hey, here's what he said, it wouldn't go out over the air very good. I don't know if anybody else actually saw it.
I saw it from Kevin. That's where I saw it as well. So I didn't go looking for it.
I'm pretty sure FS1 is on demand. So if you missed it, you weren't watching at that moment, you could probably go back and get it and probably get a pretty good audio copy if that's what you're worried about. All right, we've given Craig Carter.
So here's well, just real quick, I'll tell you, here's what Adam said. I texted someone in the organization yesterday, which so did I. And the text I got back was none of that shit. I can say shit. None of that shit happened. I got a similar.
See, now hold on. Now you're gonna make me take up Carton's side. None of that shit happened. What shit? How do you know? How do you know? Carton didn't say. He didn't tell you what he's referring to. So how can you deny something that someone said nothing about?
Well, we all have plausible evidence of what we think. Like my question,
splintered something that splintered men. Yeah. Something that I use the term shattered.
My question at first was, I know Jalen Hurts, he's not married, but he does have a significant other, right?
Yeah.
Is A.J. Brown married?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be a splintering, I get. If you're trying to find something that would splinter men,
I don't know.
One guy in a relationship, another guy in a relationship. Not that, but Jody, you're saying we don't even know what happened. That's what he's insinuating.
So how can you say it didn't happen when you don't know what they're talking about?
I agree with you there.
Just because of the nature of the two people, I'm closer to AJ than Jalen, because Jalen doesn't get close to anybody. AJ is a good guy. He's got two young kids. I'm not going down that route. He loves his kids. Listen. But
my point is, what Jody's saying is that is where Craig is trying to take your mind, is to think that
yes, exactly. And it works.
Mind and stating something are two different things.
Yeah.
So how can you deny something of something that hasn't actually been stated? All right. Now we gave Craig plenty of time. And again, let me say this. Craig, number one, he's a friend. And number two, he was a really pretty good Eagle beat writer back in the day. Long time removed. We're talking more than 20 years ago.
Well, if you still got that text, you should try to get him on the show, Jody. If you got Craig's number. But he's on in the morning.
He's kind of on the air when we're on the air, so we won't be getting.
I think he gets off right when you get on. I think, isn't the show, or is it 8 to 10? I think it's 6 to 8, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's one of the reasons why he left the radio was because the show was.
I think it goes to at least 9 o'clock. I know that, but it might go to 10. I think Bayless comes on immediately thereafter, and I think
Craig and Skip back to back.
Back to back. That's exactly what FS1 has on every day. All right. And another debate. Yeah, John and I almost came to blows on this one. The Eagles in their running back position, they signed a futures running back yesterday. Again, here's where John and I agreed. What's the downside? It's a good signing because there's no real downside to it. But I tried to play devil's advocate and say, here's the downside. If they really like this kid, without having seen him play, you're not going to get a chance to look at him. You're judging by what he did in the preseason with the 49ers last year. If they put too much valuation into that, maybe it affects the other running back moves they can make. And I do have a little bit of a fear that could be the case. Eagles have 4 picks in the first 2 days of the NFL draft, number 22, 50, 53, and 97. Give me the percentage chance that they will use one of those picks, either actually take them and or trade them in a deal to get a running back with a trade, whatever. They will use one of those 4 picks between 22 and 97 on a running back. Give me the percentage chance that the Eagles go there.
0.
Mike's going to 0.
That would be Mike Gill and Jody McDonald in agreement.
Yeah, but here's now.
I will say they got Trey Sermon from the Niners. He was a 3rd round pick. They picked him up and loved him. They talked about him in the offseason and then didn't do anything with him. I would imagine somebody scouted this guy coming out of the draft, said, hey, we had some interesting thoughts about him. Let's just sign him to a futures deal. We might like him. running back, and John, I heard you talking about this before I came on, which, you're getting Pacheco in the 7th round. He's one of the 10 best running backs in the whole freaking league. I mean, these teams have got to be devaluing any capital in that position even more than they used to. We're talking about last year. None of these guys are getting paid. You got Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, and they all have various problems in terms of age or injury, but that's some pretty high-profile guys.
And
I'm very interested to see what kind of payment those guys end up getting in free agency here, because these teams are saying, I don't need a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick. I can take a guy in the 5th round and just shuffle him out there. And if he doesn't work, I got like a 6th-rounder. I'll try him. I think you're seeing these teams devalue that position even more than they used to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my only point is, and I agree, I'm not going to go 0. I think in those first day 2 picks, first 3 rounds, the premium picks, as Jody pointed out, I'd probably go 15%, very low percentage.
Where did they get Gainwell? Is Gainwell a 3rd-round pick?
5th. Miles Sanders, you got to go Miles Sanders, who was 53rd overall. If the evaluation meets the spot and they like a player, they'll take them. The odds of that are pretty low. I'm not going to say Jody's going 0, you're going 0. They've already proven they'll take it. I would say it's low, but it has nothing to do with Ty Davis Price. I mean, nothing. 0. Absolutely 0.
Yeah.
It's just
I would be more inclined to think,
that's 0.
Like Eckler, if Eckler has no bites anywhere and they can get him at the 1 year, not even $4 million. That's too much for a running back, I think. But like a Pollard or an Eckler who both played for more, I would imagine those 2 names are probably going to be connected in some way. And if they can get him for the 1 year, prove it.
Well, I get the Eckler stuff from the standpoint that Kellen Moore was out there, but I think that's a bad sign because he looked a little bit washed last year. He looked, and I think it's pretty clear he is a descending player. He's touched the football lots. He's not quite 30. I think he's 28, 29, somewhere in that range. But he didn't look like the same guy.
I agree.
Physically.
And same with Pollard, another guy who was really good in Dallas. I don't think he used him enough in Dallas. And then he got hurt and didn't look like the same guy last year.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are going to keep Pollard. I've seen people actually suggest Pollard could get a franchise tag, which I think that's a little too far. Yeah. But the Cowboys are going to offer him. You just said 3 or 4 is too much. Cowboys are going to pay him 8 or 9, 10, whatever they need to.
I'm just saying, if those guys are lingering, I'm just saying, if those guys are lingering out there and nobody signed them, I think you could see Howie start to do what he did in 2017 and to some extent 2 years ago, where he just gave these 1 year prove it deals to guys.
Yeah.
And if they're still available and they were like, you know what? Much like Swift last year, they went out and got Penny. And then Swift on draft day became available, so they went and got him. But
I think Howie would give a 1 year prove it deal. It doesn't really make a lot of sense because the Eagles already have guys. Yeah, Chris Jones. If he's available on a 1 year prove it deal, I think Howie would jump right in there. Come on. I'm telling you, there isn't a 1 year prove it deal to Tony Pollard. He's going to get paid.
No,
you're not going to get him.
I'm not talking
30
about
cents on
Tony.
the dollar, Mike.
No, I'm saying, like Eckler, Dobbins is another guy who's had a lot of injury issues that maybe people are just like, not giving you any more than a 1 year prove it because you're always hurt. That level of player that you're just like, okay, if you slip through the cracks. I do find free agency interesting in that there's a lot of interior offensive line guards.
Yeah, I think they might sign a guard. Yeah.
Well, they got to figure out, obviously, what Kelsey's going to do before they jump into that pot, because I would imagine those guys that are available, there's about 5 or 6 high-profile guards that could slip in and play right away. But you got to know whether or not they're going to play right away. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, too.
Ooh, that's a good reminder. Thank you, Mike Gill. Is the New Heights podcast going to drop today? Is there anywhere you can even look up as to when it's going to drop?
No, it already came out. No, they were talking, no retirement talk. They were talking, obviously.
Was it on yesterday? They dropped it
I
yesterday?
believe it came out yesterday. They were talking obviously about the shooting in Kansas City, and they were. I just saw some clips. I didn't hear the whole show, but they dropped some clips, and there was no retirement, no retirement talk. So,
All right, well, then maybe next
New
week.
Heights came out 3 hours ago.
yeah.
Okay.
So this morning they must have dropped the clips yesterday. So
That was. I thought there was a possibility that this could be.
well, I think stuff keeps happening. You have to address what happened in Kansas City because Travis was there, and that complicates things. And there's just a lot going on. But I mean, I maintain the Eagles probably know already, and the timing is the timing. But the Eagles will. In other words, what Mike was saying. The Eagles aren't going in blind to free agency saying, "Oh, maybe we need a guard, maybe we don't need a guard." They know. They're going to know whether Jason Kelsey's back or not. And if Jason Kelsey's back, they probably don't need a
What's
guard.
the free agent date? March 14th, something like that?
March 11th.
11th is the first day of legal tampering.
Yeah.
The legal tampering, right? So they have a little less than a month to get an answer. You would think Kelsey will have a decision by then, and then they go in. Now, I would ask this question, and I think I know the answer, but they definitively would move Juergens. They didn't like him enough at guard like they did Dickerson to keep him there and try to find a center.
No,
correct?
yeah. If Kelsey retires, Cam Juergens is the center, and then you got to find a right guard. I don't think you can count on Tyler Steen. I think the Eagles would
There's
hope.
a lot of good guards in this free agent crop here. There's a lot of them. I like the kids.
Yeah, I brought up, you know what? John Runyon's a free agent. John Runyon Jr. You know, I've advocated trading for Asante Samuel, signing John Runyon Jr. and drafting Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Bring second generation Eagles all back in South Florida.
That would make everybody happy.
John continues to tell me it's a DNA league, so
It is.
if you believe it, you got to act on it, right?
John is going all Nick Sirianni and pandering here.
Yes, pandering.
He knows the crowd. He knows his audience. Just go get everybody's son and put them on the team.
The fans would love it. I don't think
Here's the key question. Can they sign A.J. Brown's son to a futures deal? That would be the key. If you're going top DNA, you got to get A.J.'s little guy signed to a futures deal 19 years in advance.
What you could do is offer LeBron James a chance to play tight end and tell Bronny he can play defensive back, and that'll get them as a package deal, and then they can go play for the Sixers too.
They're still talking about the Sixers getting LeBron James on the trade market before the trade.
CBS Sports.
Daryl Morey put it out there. That was all on Daryl.
CBS Sports ranked all 30 teams' chances of getting LeBron if he became a free agent. And other than the Lakers retaining him, the Sixers were the top team on the list.
Of course. By the way, I got the odds for Josh Jacobs yesterday. I told Jody. Number 2, Eagles. Stop it. Stop it. Stop.
Here's what I'll say. There's a better chance of Josh Jacobs signing with the Eagles than Howie Roseman using a day 1 or day 2 pick on a running back. Jacobs is a guy whose number could come down. Pollard, the Cowboys desperately need, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Day 1, I agree with you. Day 2, no way. No way.
Day 2, the last 2 times they took Ertz in the second round and they took Goddard in the second round when Ertz was 29. Well, Goddard's 29 now, so tight end in round 2.
They had tight end draft, though, I've heard, except for the kid from Georgia. But I'm still early in the process. He's going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah, he'll be.
I saw mock drafts with him in the top 5.
Yeah. He's a big time prospect.
He's that good a player. All right, Mike Gill, thank you very much for staying as long as you did. Feel free to go out and wear your Providence shirt proudly out there down the shore, and good luck with that. It's cold.
Yeah,
out.
At Mike Gill show, make sure. Yeah,
is that long sleeve or tee?
Short sleeve.
Short sleeve. So
showing the Rock goosebumps there. Is that for being on the show? At Mike Gill show, listen to Mike. He'll talk about. He'll probably talk about Craig Carton today, 2 to 6, a little bit. Yeah, you're gonna have to.
I'm working the phones now. I'm working the phones.
All right,
there you go. Mike Gill from the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN down the shore. All right, Mac and Mac coming back. Damn, we went long with Gil. Brandon Lee Gouton from Bleeding Green Nation, scheduled to join us in just about 10 minutes from now. Hey, Birds fans, here is your chance to save upwards of 40% on your car insurance. You can do it right now from one of JAKIB Sports' great partners. Here's what you need to do. Call one of the managing partners. That would be either Jim or Fran, and tell them you're a friend of both JAKIB Sports and Birds 365.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
John McMullen, Jody McDonald, your Mac and Mac guy, saying thanks to Mike Gill for making his usual Wednesday appearance with us. Always have fun when we punch Gill up. Johnny Mac, before we get Brendan Lee Gouton of Bleeding Green Nation up with us, I think I saw a couple of suggestions yesterday here on the stream. I had at least one caller, if not two, last night on WIP about guys the Eagles should target in free agency. I'm going to give you 5 names right now. And here's my thought on these players landing with the Philadelphia Eagles. 0. Again, this is a 0.
0.
This is not happening. This is not 0.002. This is a flat out 0 prediction by yours truly. Here are the 5 names that I will tell you the Philadelphia Eagles have 0 chance to get. L'Jarius Sneed, Brian Burns, Josh Allen, no, not the quarterback, the pass rusher from the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jalen Johnson, and Antoine Winfield. There's a very good reason why those 5 guys will not be a Philadelphia Eagle this offseason. Please tell the people why that is, John.
Won't get to the market. I'm with you on 80% of them. The one who
do you
has
think could hit?
A small chance is L'Jarius Sneed. Not a big time chance, but I don't think there's 100% chance they're going to franchise. Now they can't. They can, but they can't really franchise Chris Jones because it would be so astronomical because of the deal he got last year. But it's very unlikely. But of that 5, the other 4 are 100%. They're not getting to the market ever. L'Jarius Sneed, doors open a little bit, and if that's the kind of player the Eagles would probably try to make a splash for, if he gets to the market, and that's a big if. But I'm with you on 4 of the 5.
Right, I'm 5 for 5 because, as you said, the cost of Chris Jones is going to be so astronomical that they're not stating that they don't think Chris Jones is one of the best football players in the National Football League by not franchising him. The franchise tag would just be so astronomical when you're already playing your quarterback. Now, if you're a team like, say the 49ers, who have Brock Purdy, who isn't even making $1 million, you might be able to get involved in something like that. The Chiefs can't. Mahomes takes a pretty big cap hit, probably undervalued as per what he actually brings to the table, even though he is the biggest cap hit on the Chiefs. And I think he's the biggest cap hit in the National Football League, as a matter of fact, which is the way that it should be. When you are the best quarterback on the best team who's won back-to-back championships, yeah, you should be the highest paid guy, and you should be the biggest cap hit for your team. I'm not bemoaning it at all. It is the way it should be.
Yeah, it kind of drives me nuts before the tags, and the tag period opened yesterday, but usually people wait. It's 2 weeks, so
Right.
you know,
Why would you
you're
do it
still
before the last
negotiating.
day?
Yeah, you're still negotiating. Usually people do it at the last minute when you can't work something out. Until that point, it drives me nuts because people say, well, you can go out and get Brian. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't. You can go out and get Antoine. No, you can't. So you can be realistic about it, or you can not be realistic about it. And honestly, I get it from fans because they're not in the weeds with this
They
stuff.
want to fantasize.
Yeah,
They're free to fantasize, but
but
know that it's a fantasy.
it drives me crazy from people in the industry who say, well, top 5 landing spots for Antoine Winfield Jr. And they put, the Eagles are basically, I was joking. And the Eagles, who was Mike talking about? And the Eagles. Eagles are second. Josh Jacobs and the Eagles. Saquon Barkley. Well, let's put the Eagles on there. And those guys are going to be available. But in the case of guys who aren't available, come on, be honest with the people. Too many people aren't.
Right. That's why I wanted to get those 5. And even Jalen Johnson is, I would say he's more of a possibility than L'Jarius Sneed. I think Kansas City knows how important, again, not that Chris Jones isn't, but Chris Jones is in a different situation than himself. I don't know who else the Bears would contemplate using a franchise tag on, but I don't think he's as good a cornerback as Sneed is. So,
the only maybe I should have given more lip service to Jalen Johnson. He played so well last year, but remember, he wanted to get traded at the trade deadline. He was kind of pushing for it. Now Chicago has been a disaster, and that's part of it. But all of a sudden, they're getting Montez Sweat. They're going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. What were they, 3 as well? What are they, 1 and 3?
No, like 9.
Yeah, is it that low?
Yeah.
Oh, is it that low? Yeah. All right.
But
they have 2 top 10 picks.
I come to the defense of the Bears because I don't have as much animus toward as you do.
I don't have
They weren't
animus towards them.
You beat the snot out of their
Yeah,
general
because
manager
they're a
every chance you
terrible
get.
organization, not because I have animus towards them. They're a bad organization. They have been a bad organization. I have no animus. This is what I love. I told you I have a file folder on my computer, and I'm up to 28 teams where people accuse me. Now the Bears are already on there, so I don't get to put them in there. Have accused me of either being a fan of said team or I hate that said team. I don't hate the Bears. When the Bears are good, I'll give them credit for being good. They've made a lot of bad decisions over the past few years, and that's not animus. That's just pointing out reality.
I'll point out a reality too. They were 7-10. They weren't 4-13. And when you go 7-10, I would that's me. I would not use the phrase "awful organization" coming off a 7-10 year. Not good enough. I wouldn't say awful.
It's not just about 1 year. They've been an awful organization for years. They've changed people at the top. They've made mistakes at head coach. They've made mistakes at general manager. They keep rotating. Now Kevin Warren's in there. They've made consistent mistakes over a long period of time. They've been one of the worst organizations in the NFL over the past decade. It's not just about last year. And by the way, to speak, I've constantly talked about Jalen Johnson is great. He is a great player. If I have animus to the Chicago Bears, I'd be telling you I have no animus. They're finally getting in the right direction. I think they're going to trade Justin Fields. They screwed up Justin Fields with Luke Getsy. There's one of their mistakes. Yeah, they've made a ton of mistakes over the past number of years.
Yeah, and I think you overstate how bad they've been. Not just my evaluation of your evaluation. We need more evaluation, and we're going to get it from our buddy Brandon Lee Gouton from Bleeding Green Nation. He is in the green room. He's ready to rock. I think he's rocking a hoodie. Looks like he's ready to go out and do some work. He's going to do some work with us next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
You got Mac and Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald here with you on Birds 365, and we've got the hardworking, lumberjack-looking Brandon Lee Gouton here with us on Birds 365. You getting ready to go out and chop some wood there, BLG?
Exactly. Yeah, got to have enough for the fireplace. It's been cold out. Got to keep it
I like
warm,
it. It has been too cold, especially in the mornings, man. I'm tired of this, BLG. We gotta get a little bit of the worm to turn weather-wise locally, but. All right, I guess we're talking free agency. Before I get to that, I guess we have to. I hate to even bring it up, but I assume you saw the Craig Carton stuff. Your thoughts? If you have information, give it. If you don't, shut up.
That's my take too. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, you can't just because it's easy to then be in that situation. And I'm not just talking about him because other people do this too, where you just say something vague and then later on something comes out and you're like, "See, I said it." It's like, well, that doesn't count. You didn't actually say it. You could have just taken credit for anything. So yeah, I mean, look, obviously, I think there were things going on, and maybe more than we know, and whatever. And I'm sure at some point this offseason, maybe we will see some more pieces come out. But yeah, I'm with you, John.
So here's the question I would have. Again, we're talking hypotheticals here. We're talking maybes because Craig didn't specifically say what he was referring to, but he talked about smoke and how much fire was there. Whatever it is, if there's something to Carton's report, we don't know what it is. We don't know how much, but if there's something to his report, how much is that an indictment?
I got a frozen Jody. I got that. Might have been me. I don't know. Okay. BLG, you got us?
I think I'm good on my end.
Okay, all right. For some reason, I think I froze up there for a second. If there's something to it, if there's some smoke with the fire that Craig Carton is alluding to, how much is that an indictment of Sirianni? That whatever it is, and again, I know it's a kind of nebulous question. It happened under the head coach who was allowed to keep his job this offseason when some people speculated and or rooted for him to lose it. Is this how bad does this look for Nick Sirianni if there's something to what Carton is reporting?
Well, I think especially moving forward with a purportedly diminished role of some extent, I think Nick Sirianni has to make sure the culture is good and setting the culture, making sure the culture rebounds. If there's adversity, the response to that. So I think that's a really big deal. Ultimately, again, moving forward, especially because I think that's his role. I think to his credit, when the Eagles have been good the past couple seasons, I think the culture has been good, and I think Nick Sirianni has contributed to that. So when things have gone well, I think he's fostered that kind of culture with his core values and whatnot. And we saw that turn a different way at the end of the 2023 season. And it didn't seem like any of the buttons he was pushing were working.
Now Jody brought that up. And that has been in the past. If when we're into the hypotheticals, but if that's the case, isn't that another strike in the Nick Sirianni, up at the plate? If he's an overseer now. I don't even like to call him a CEO coach, BLG, because he was a CEO coach before. So it's like everyone woke up and said, "Oh, he's now going to be a CEO." No, he already was. Now he's sort of an overseer, taking some of the offensive autonomy away from him. If he's not a culture guy, that's even worse if you're straddling the fence and you're Jeffrey Lurie, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's a especially after that press conference, and he's confirmed to be staying as the Eagles head coach. There's a lot of discourse about, well, the CEO head coach can work. That's not the point. I don't think it's about, that's not like the debate, or at least it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the focus. It's not like, can this model work? That's not the argument. So is Nick Sirianni good at that? That is the argument. That's what's more important. And the way the 2023 season ended, I think there are real questions about that. And I think game management was really lacking a lot of the time in this past season. And that's something I want to go back and look at. I was casually looking at some games, like even just the Vikings game in week 2. There was an opportunity for the Eagles to, I think, go for 2 to be up 14. And instead they kicked the extra point to go up 13, which is, there's no difference between being up 13 and if you miss it 12 at that point, as there is a big difference when you're up 14. And that's just one example. But I think there were a lot of things like that this year where he wasn't really doing everything he could to give them an edge. And I think at a very high level, a very simplified, oversimplified version, maybe that's what you want your coach to do, is give you an edge. And I don't think he did that enough.
All right, so let's double down on that. Post you put up last 48 hours that I enjoyed. Most improved Philadelphia Eagle for 2024. And you ran down 4 players' names. I liked all of them, but also included Nick Sirianni as an improved Eagle. You didn't say player. You just said, who will be the 5 most improved Eagles? Yeah, Nick Sirianni's going to be an Eagle again this year. So get on the record. Will he be improved or won't he be improved as a newfangled CEO coach? As John Porter said, he was a CEO coach, but he's a newfangled CEO coach. Will we see improvement out of Sirianni this year?
I think it's going to be interesting to measure just what that looks like, because I think it's possible that the Eagles could be better, and certainly from where they picked off from at the end of last year. But it's going to be with Nick Sirianni seemingly again having some kind of less power. Then how do you credit him when the success is there? And obviously, if the culture looks right, then that's a big deal. And that's obviously not maybe the easiest thing to gauge always. Although I will say, maybe it isn't always as simple as just winning, because last year's team was winning and the culture clearly was not great, or at least shifted bad in a quick way. So I don't really exactly know how to parse even his season next year, other than looking at some of these game management situations. And I think those will be especially important in telling when the margin for error shrinks, and let's say they're in the playoffs, and like the Eagles were just last year or 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, and you have, some of these big 4th down decisions to make. And like in those moments, the difference between a championship or not, and there's obviously other things that went into the Eagles Super Bowl loss, but in no small part, Nick Sirianni punting on that 4th and 2 there, and trusting his defense that just gave 2 75-yard touchdown drives was not the best decision. And putting the ball in the hands of his defense and his punter, who just came off IR and was injured and bad, instead of Jalen Hurts, who was clearly like the best player in that game, instead of trusting him to get 2 yards. When you make decisions like that.
You're bringing up sore spots, Bill. Yeah, one of the I think thought about terrible decisions by the Eagles as an organization. Not that Brett Kern was any good, but to assume Aaron Cepas hadn't punted and to put him out there on the big stage, I just thought at least you would have had the veteran presence. You'd probably kick it to the right side of the field. Maybe it wouldn't go that far, but I thought that was one of the worst decisions, and I still think that. But you're bringing up bad memories for people.
All right, well, let's rub salt even further in the wounds. Who do you think made that call? And again, they'll give us collaborative, because they always do. Sirianni, Michael Clay, Howie Roseman. If one of those 3 was the
definitely not Michael Clay. I'll throw that. Definitely not Mike. I think it was an organizational decision, which means Howie. And I think, the Eagles have this weird loyalty thing. I think they wanted to be loyal to Aaron Cepas. Like, with all due respect, I mean, again, it's not even an insult to him, and things haven't gone right with him. He had some mental health issues over the bad punt, and I feel bad for Aaron, who's a good guy, but it's just a matter of the rust. You just don't. Oh, it's Super Bowl. Let's get Aaron Cepas back in there. It's just, and they were being loyal. That's what I think, Brandon.
And it was also a disaster in the playoffs the year before. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know why you're itching to get him back out there in the Buccaneers wild card game that the Eagles lost.
Well,
And,
Kern wasn't good either, but
yeah. But
yeah.
also, again, he shouldn't have been punting there to me. And I bring up that one example just to be like, if you're not going to go for it there in the Super Bowl, and even we saw this in the Bucs playoff game this year when Sirianni's job is being talked about, and it's early in the game. I think there are multiple 4th and 2 opportunities there that he had. He doesn't go for it. It's like, well, when are you going to go for it? If you're not going to go for it in these situations where it's time to give your team an edge, maybe. Like, I don't think he was really like reading the room. Again, you can talk about analytics, whatever. You can debate that, but like again, you just gave up 2 75-yard touchdown drives. You weren't stopping that Chiefs offense, so maybe it's time to be like, hey, let's try to keep our offense on the field. I just think he kind of gets away from ignoring.
You gotta have a feel.
You
got to have a feel in the moment. No question about it. We are inside of 3 weeks, Brandon, for the new league year. I get the feeling. I don't know if you get the feeling something's going to happen. Something big is going to happen, and it might be trading Hassan Reddick. Now with Craig Carton and splintering, and it may be trading AJ Brown, and maybe going out and making a splash in free agency. Do you get the feeling something big is going to happen relatively quickly? The Eagles are going to seize a move, and if I gave you their cap space and Howie Roseman's cap, what would BLG want to accomplish first?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Eagles if there isn't some kind of thing to talk about, right? There's going to be, I'm sure there'll be something. It's a weird offseason, though, in the terms of obviously they have certain things they need to address, like linebacker and whatnot, but it's usually, I feel like there's a feel that, okay, they're just like this one thing away, or they really need to get that. And I guess linebacker probably is that for a lot of people. But obviously, with the way last season went, they really talked about, and their actions show that coaching, was a big issue. Now they need to get, again, better players here on defense, safety, linebacker. But I don't know that it's about getting that star guy, especially given their cap situation, as it is more trying to fill out multiple quality pieces here. Because I don't think they're going to be, like signing L'Jarius Sneed in terms of like that's the kind of top of the market player that everyone's going to be competing to sign. And I don't know that they really have if they want to sign him, they can. You can always find a way to make it work, but that's your move at that point. And then you don't really have money or the resources to do much else there. So, the Reddick thing bears watching, of course. But I don't know that it's about one big move that I feel like we just are lined up for here.
All right. John and I kicked this around earlier. We had Mike Gill on. I asked him, so I got to ask you too. The Philadelphia Eagles, crystal ball time. The Philadelphia Eagles will have one back who will get more touches than anyone else on the team next year. That's a given. What the percentage of overall run? No, we don't know that. You don't even have to know that. All I just need to know from you, BLG, is when we find out at the end of the season what player has the most touches this year is DeAndre Swift. Will that player be someone already on their roster? And they just added a new name yesterday. Will that player be taken in the draft? Will that player be signed as a free agent? Will that player, like DeAndre Swift, be traded for? I'm not asking you to name the player. I'm asking you to name the player who has the most touches next year for the Eagles, how he gets there, either acquisition or already in place.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's someone they sign, and I'm including DeAndre Swift in there, someone who is going to be a free agent running back this offseason, and they sign that player because you look at the free agent running back market and it's a buyer's market. There's a lot of names out there. You have Josh Jacobs, you have Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Austin Eckler obviously has connections to Philly in multiple ways between Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. He's out there. There's a lot of different kind of running backs out there that I think the price is going to come down on them. Saquon Barkley as well. We'll see what happens there. I think the price is going to come down on those guys, and I think eventually the Eagles are going to be able to sign one of them to a relatively decent rate for a year. And obviously, I don't think it's the only move. They'll make it running back. I'm sure they'll draft one at some point, and you'll have that committee. But at the end of the day, I'm going to lean on it's going to be the free agent guy they sign.
It's not going to be Ty Davis-Price, the largest future signing in the history of the world, right. BLG. I wrote that I like when the Eagles do that kind of stuff because why does it hurt? I mean, take a lottery ticket, take a flyer. They give a little bit more money to a former third-round pick. They did it with Julian Okwara as well. I wouldn't count on these guys, but isn't that better than the alternative to keep working and try to uncover every rock? Who knows? Maybe somebody hits.
Especially at the two positions they did there. I mean, between, edge rusher, I mean, if Reddick's not back, you're looking thin there, very much so. Even if he is, you still need to address your depth there. And then running back, the only running backs under contract for next season currently are what? Kenny Gainwell
and Lou Nichols.
Great,
yeah.
So Nichols. You just need a body there, quite frankly. So certainly doesn't hurt to add more competition. Like you said, if one of those guys hits, it's like it's a home run.
Yeah.
Rhetorical question: can you pick Lou Nichols out of a lineup? I know I couldn't.
Yeah, I could.
I looked up his picture.
Lou was around. Yeah, Lou was around last year in the locker room a lot. He led the nation in rushing, by the way, back in his college days. I believe it. I get those Michigans. I believe he was Western Michigan. I get there's in Central Michigan and Western. I get them mixed up.
Eastern Michigan. There's a plenty of directional Michigans. All right, BLG, we have not had you on since the last game of the season. And I'm not talking the Eagles beat down against Tampa. I'm talking about that thing they call a Super Bowl. I need you to finish the sentence for me, and I'm going to take one potential offer off the table. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. The San Francisco 49ers lost the Super Bowl because what?
They didn't approach overtime the right way. And I know you feel, Jody, like the Kyle Shanahan definitely should have opted to get the ball second and not taking it. I think there's more. I think that's debatable. What I think is not debatable is once you do take it first and you've made that decision, I think going up against Patrick Mahomes, who I say is like NFL Michael Myers, he's like, you can't just think he's going to be gone easily. Like you have to do everything you possibly can to make sure the bad guy doesn't come back. And to me, the mindset has to be, we need 8 here. We need 8 on this drive because that's the only way you 100% guarantee you actually do get that third possession, which is what Kyle Shanahan said he was going to do. So as soon as he does that, he can't kick the field goal in the red zone there. You have to be committed to getting 8.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Sorry, let me just follow up and then I'll let you get your question in. If you're 4th and 17 at the 30-yard line, okay, you got to kick the field goal.
Yeah, sure.
You're at the 9. You're already inside the 10. You have a makeable 3rd and or 4th down. It follows thereafter. That's why it's just inexcusable.
Where were they on the 4th down? Wasn't it like 4th and 4 or something?
It was 4th and 4
at the 9.
And I also think they could have
closer.
They could have ran a better play on that 3rd down to try to set up
a shorter 4th
down.
My problem is the 3rd down. You should know you have to go, and if you go for it, even at 4th and 4, you should go for it. I have a problem with that. But you should call the 3rd down play to get to 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 and make it easier.
Yeah.
Make that decision easier. So you should have that in your mind. So I have a problem with that. But even at 4th and 4, it's better to go for it. And then at least Kansas City's backed up and maybe they don't have their entire offense on the plate until they get out from under the shadows of the goalpost. And maybe that puts them in more. And obviously it's not a 4-down game at that situation. So if it's 3rd and 5, they're going to punt the football instead of obviously being down. They have all 4 downs. Just terrible decision. Bad game manager. Great play designer, great play. Bad game manager. Has been for years, Kyle Shanahan. That's my assumption of him.
It was the 9-yard line, by the way.
It was the 9.
The 9.
Still, I thought it was a little bit closer, but I still go for it on 4th and 4. They're still inside the 10, even if you don't get it. You got to go for it in that situation. You got to go for it.
I agree. I think you have to ask yourself, what are you going to regret more? Are you going to regret like trying to do everything you could to win? Or are you going to regret kicking a field goal and putting the game in the hands of Patrick Mahomes? I think it's the I think you're going to.
But I think it starts on third down. I think it
Sure.
starts on third down. You got to run the ball with McCaffrey. Maybe
Exactly.
It's
You got the best running back in the game. How do you not try and get 4 yards over 2 downs?
Yeah.
Instead, you call a pass play. And here's another good idea that 49. I would have suggested blocking Chris Jones on the play. I may be crazy, but I would have had at least one.
That's easier said than done, though.
Untouched, John. There's an attempt to block Chris Jones, and then there's no attempt. He got to the quarterback untouched.
Well, and John Feliciano, who did he throw under the bus?
Spencer Buford, right?
Spencer Burford, yeah. Class guy, that John Feliciano. Although, but he was drunk, I think was his excuse. So, but that's for the 49ers to worry about. For the Philadelphia Eagles, since I brought that up, I mean, Jalen Carter was a part of that in the back and forth with John Feliciano. Does that concern you at all? Because, look, Jalen Carter's unbelievably gifted. We all know the possibilities of things going wrong. When you're getting involved in that kind of stuff, it's untoward, back and forth trash talk. Does that concern you at all? Because they have to rebuild this defense, and I maintain, Brandon, they have to rebuild it on the foundation of Jalen Carter. They really do. He's got to be the guy on this defense. Can you trust him to be that guy?
Yeah, I think my bigger concern than the Twitter beef is, just how he we didn't see the same kind of player in the second half of last season. Not that he was invisible, because he still had some impact along the way. It's not like he totally, pulled a Josh Sweat for pretty much and just didn't have any sacks other than the playoff game. But and also about the Feliciano Carter thing. I mean, not to say anyone's right here. I think everyone doesn't look good in that kind of interaction. But John Feliciano is also 10 years older than Jalen Carter. So maybe we kind of need to from his standpoint, think what you're doing, arguing with like a 23-year-old kid. Anyway, it's more about what we didn't see in the second half of last season. But then again, it's kind of like pretty much almost all of the pass rush / defensive line kind of just fell off. So I don't think it's just an isolated thing there. And I do trust the ceiling that we've seen between, training camp and then early in the season. I still think that, ability is very much there. And honestly, I mean, maybe this is a weird way to spin it, and maybe it is spin, but maybe it's a good thing that like Jalen Carter didn't win Rookie of the Year, and all the success kind of like instantly goes to his head, and he's like, well, I don't even need to work that hard or whatever because I'm the man. Maybe if you're looking at it with the optimistic spin, the second half of last year kind of motivates him, and not winning defensive rookie of the year kind of motivates him to hit that next gear and be what this team needs him to be.
I like your optimism there. That's well-placed spin by you, Brandon Lee Gowton. All right, which lends me to this, and John McMullen will attest to this. This is something that I feel strongly about, maybe even obsessed about. I think part of the problem with the Eagles, certainly in their collapse, and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, I'll put him in the mix too, who's just as big a building block for them going forward, is they ran out of gas in the second half of the season. And maybe, just maybe, one of the reasons they ran out of gas is because the Philadelphia Eagles have this laissez-faire, less is more attitude about practice. That there's the league maximum that and the Eagles never get anywhere near. There was always less than that. But the sports medicine and the people who advise Howie Roseman and the organizational decision maker, it's more important not to hurt yourself than it is to actually prepare for the season. After what happened this past year, if you believe anything of what I just said, they kind of ran out of gas. Shame on them. It's in part on them. And the fact that they've got a old school taskmaster defensive coordinator now in place. Will the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm talking stopwatch here, actually put more time and effort into practice in 2024, starting with the first workout of the offseason?
I think more than the past couple of years, in part just because they do have two new coordinators and both not, just internal promotions from doing the same thing you're doing, and also explicitly in offense, like stressing the need for fresh ideas. So it would seem to me they would need to maybe do a little bit more of install and whatnot than they have done the past couple of years. I think we'll see more than that. But at the end of the day, I do think it's defensible when you look at how healthy they've been, that they've clearly found some kind of formula that works. So I think maybe they've taken that to an extreme, like they take other things to an extreme, like they're not investing in linebacker, and you can kind of balance that out a little bit more. You can find a little bit better of a balance, but I still think they're going to be on the lighter end of things overall.
By the way, we talk about the collapse, 6 of 7 to end the season. We just talked about Jalen Carter not having a good finish to the season. Jordan Davis, Jody's talking about guys running out of gas. Is there anybody who played well in that stretch? Even the offensive line, which you look at, they weren't as good. Obviously, the quarterback.
Smitty played well. Smitty finished the season pretty well.
Yeah, I guess Smitty. Boy, it was really a full-blown, full team collapse almost. Yeah, you can argue Smitty.
Yep.
You can't argue many people.
That's sad that you come up with one name.
Yeah.
Just
well, I would say
one name. That's it. That's awful.
I would say Jordan Mailata played pretty well the whole season. Sure. But very few guys. Very few guys. That's astonishing. Even Jason Kelce did not play well in Tampa. He did not play well in Tampa. No. Boy, yeah, I just thought about that. When we keep talking about players, Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Mm-hmm. On the defensive side, I guess Howie's out there dependent Zach Cunningham. Well, he missed a number of games. Yeah, wow. That's bad. I don't know who to blame.
Prospective free agent. Eagles need to resign him. That would be Braden Mann, their punter.
He was very good.
He was pretty damn good all season long.
Yeah. So was Britton. Britton Covey was.
And Covey, right? Exactly. Yeah. That's a good one. All right. Last thing, BLG. We are less than a week away from the combine starting up in Indianapolis. You've already put up a couple of guys to keep your eyes on. Eagles mocks, blah, 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 blah. Who's the guy that you've kind of targeted, that you think you've got a good grasp on him, that he's going to be a day 3 pick, 4th, 5th rep, whatever, and he fills a void for the Eagles, that this could be a Howie wins the offseason type pick, a not top of the draft, but a guy who comes in and like a Reed Blankenship, who is completely undrafted, but a guy who gets a chance to play as a rookie, grabs a hold of a job, makes it his. You got a guy yet? You got one you circled on your sheet that you'll have in front of you, or you're watching the combine from Indianapolis next week?
Not yet. So the way the draft works for me is, and I feel like maybe John can attest to this as well. Like, so locked in to the the NFL during the NFL season and especially because little peek behind the curtain, for those covering the team, Saturday's your one day kind of off of the entire week, at least for me. So I'm not spending it, watching college football. I'm trying to take it, actually do errands and other things I need to get done before game day on Sunday. So don't have the intimate knowledge yet. We do have some good draft coverage on Bleeding Green Nation, the Bleeding Green Nation podcast feed with Shane Haff and his crew. So I actually rely on those guys a lot. That's what I'm doing right now to kind of get caught up fast. And then as we go through the combine and as we go through pre-draft visits and everything and pro days, and then, as the mock drafts really heat up in April, that's when I kind of start to lock in really. And so I'm not there yet. I kind of go through the process, and I enjoy that process each year of really kind of getting.
And by the way, you know what, BLG, that's how it works for the Eagles. It's like Howie and company are all locked in. The big guy, they're locked in on the regular season, and it's the personnel those are the guys on the ground doing the work, and they lean on them, and then they get involved in the spring and the combine, and as things move forward in the pro days, then you get the coach's opinion. What do you want? What do you need? What does Kellen Moore need? What does Vic Fangio want? And you mix all that together. It's very similar to how you do it at Bleeding Green Nation. You got to rely on your draft guys. And for me, I got a core group of draft guys I rely on, because I can't do that legwork. They're the ones doing the legwork, because that's 365, man. You got to do that all year. Yeah. It's like a little ecosystem of how the NFL does it.
When we go ecosystem, I know it's time to wrap up the show. Yesterday we had our buddy from the Athletic on. Why am I missing his name? John, help me out
Brooks
here.
Cabina.
Brooks went all Bill Nye science guy on us.
Oh yeah,
DNA of plants and whatever.
He went plants. He I don't think he knew he went Nick Sirianni, but he went DNA of plants.
Holy mackerel! He talked over my head. So I know it's time to get out. If McMullen is going there, it really says McDonald. You got no idea what the hell's being talked about around you. I always love talking to you though, BLG. Thank you very much for jumping in. We'll get you back up in a couple of weeks after the combine and see who that player you've circled on your page is then. I know you don't have it yet. Neither do I. Neither does John. We all got to lean on our helpers for the draft stuff. But we get a first look at the guys in the combine next week. It'll be fun, and we'll get you back on again. BLG, thanks.
Thanks, bud.
Brandon Lee Gouton from Bleeding Green Nation here with us on Birds 365. All right, we'll come back. We'll put on the show a bow on the show, and we'll find out what the ecosystem says we'll be doing tomorrow on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
All right, time to say thank you to both Brendan Lee Gouton and Mike Gill for hopping on with us. We've got one in the books for tomorrow. Johnny Stolness, Eye on the Enemy podcast, and Bleeding Green Nation going to jump in with us. We'll work up a second guest. One thing I did want to get in at some point that the show just never did. I apologize because I know you're a fan. Kirk Cousins going to get another full guaranteed contract from the Vikings, Johnny Mac?
I don't think he is from the Vikings. Just a hunch. I think, there's another guy I've ripped pretty harshly. I don't think Kwesi Odopa-Mensah's been doing a great job there. And this is it.
I think he's been worse than Ryan Pauls.
I agree. I agree. I think he's been an abject disaster especially when it comes to drafting. So this is his way of sort of buying a couple more years if he can get a young quarterback and you can, throw it off to. Well, you got to let him develop. You got to let him develop.
You think the general manager's going self-preservation and making his quarterback decision?
And this is one of the things the Eagles have a luxury, and I talk about it all the time. He's GMing for his job now already. And he's got to make decisions GMing for his job. Howie doesn't have to do that. Howie doesn't have to do that. He can be patient. So I think he has to buy some time. How do you buy time in this league? If you draft a quarterback, if you move up, get a quarterback in the top 5, I think they may even go J.J. McCarthy, which I think would be a typical disaster, but that's just my own speculation. I think they're going young, and I think Kirk lands in Atlanta, and he'll get a fully guaranteed deal there. So he's our buddy Andrew Brandt. Kirk Cousins he's not a first ballot Pro Football Hall of Famer, but he is a first ballot Business Hall of Famer. That guy, he squeezes and that's been, I'm a Cousins guy. That's been my biggest criticism of Kirk Cousins. He squeezes out every penny he can get to the detriment of helping his team build a roster.
That's fair.
And I think that's part of it. I think that's part of
it. I agree with you.
So when people criticize about he's part of that. I think people don't understand how good of a quarterback he is, but part of that is his own undoing because he's always striving for every single penny.
And by the way, back in the day, a couple of years ago, I make it sound like it was 40 years ago, when he was a free agent leaving the at the time Redskins, and the Jets were hot in pursuit. And I'm a Jet guy on New York radio. I said, I'm sorry, if the ask numbers out there are accurate, I'm not touching Kirk Cousins. He wants every last penny. And if somebody else is going to give it to him, then they're going to give it to him, and I'm going to pass if I'm the Jets. And guess what? The Vikings did. They gave him every last penny, and the Vikings haven't won diddly squat. They maybe won more than the Jets because the Jets made even worse quarterback decisions than not paying Kirk Cousins. But I stand by my, Kirk Cousins isn't taken to a Super Bowl stance. But we'll see. I just wanted to add that into the mix. You and I back here tomorrow. I'm good for 22 hours from now. You in, McMullen?
Let's do it.
We will be back on Birds 365 and 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.